I think a major factor in how we go through adversity, and quite frankly, how we go through life, comes down to which side of the railroad tracks we choose to live on. Are we focused indefinitely on only the wrong things in our lives? Coping is this. It's the mindset that you'll never totally heal. You'll always somehow carry this and deal with this. What is failure? Failure is, for the most part, just giving up. Because for the most part, you get another chance. You get another chance to do it again. Like it might take another year before you get that opportunity to really perform or whatever with that job, with that person, but you get another chance. So failure is only final when we quit. You know, we try so hard to motivate our kids when they're down or motivate people that are depressed or whatever, and there's no amount of speeches that work. And so we as parents and teachers and leaders, we feel like, what are we doing that's wrong? Like, how come they're not getting it? If you can't get that right, and if you can't learn how to thrive emotionally and mentally, what kind of life are you truly living and enjoying? Do you have any adversity you're going through? I used to think, Mia, that life was like a roller coaster and there was highs and lows. And I've since I heard this probably, I don't know, 15 years ago, and I thought it was brilliant. It was a game changer for the way I look at adversity and just life. But instead of it being a roller coaster, it's better explained as a set of railroad tracks. And on one side of the tracks, there's always something that's just incredible and beautiful and inspiring that you're just in awe of. And this is a part of my life, and you're just grateful for it. And then on the other side of the tracks, always something that's just really difficult, really challenging, awful. And that sums up life. Now there's varying degrees of how high and how great the grateful area is and how bad the bad area is, but it's always happening. It's life. And the more I learned that it's just really a matter of how I manage both sides and how much time I give to the negativity. Not that I want to be like an ostrich and stick my head in the sand, but I don't have to get stuck in a cycle of adversity thinking I'm trapped, because that's where so many of us live when bad things happen. We stay stuck there.
So explain the railroad analogy. So you're saying you're always going to have the good and the bad, and you're just going to have like steady course, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so the two sets of tracks. Right now, I can think of something. I'm grabbing stuff off the top of my head. I can make a list. I have a lot of things I'm grateful for. One is my health.
Hmm.
I'm healthy. I can see, I can walk, I can talk. I don't have any sickness. I feel amazing. I have energy. That is so good. That's on one side of the tracks. I have that. And I could just go down a list of all. I have shelter. I have food. I don't have not food insecure. I'm not home. There's so many things I'm grateful for that are good blessings. On the other side of the tracks, and this is not what I don't practice negativity. So I'm trying to think of what's bad. There's challenging in relationships right now. I have some challenging relationships that I can think of that I don't choose to talk about them as bad things, but they're adverse things. They're just difficult. I have some of those things going on. So there's always adversity. There's situations you're working through that are difficult or hurtful, and there's always something great. Both are happening simultaneously. And for me, in looking at research, I think there's so many of us that get stuck on the wrong side of the tracks, ignoring the right side of the tracks. And what that does to our mindset, our energy, our spirit, our level of hope and faith in ourselves and on the world, it just gets diminished the more we spend time on that side of the tracks, and we become hopeless and helpless, which leads to demotivation. And it
Hmm.
doesn't help us become the best version of ourselves.
Is that learned? Is it a choice?
Well,
Why do we spend so much time over there?
I think it's because we don't know how to people like we don't teach kids how to thrive through diversity. We kind of through our anecdotes and through our language, parents, we pass this down to our kids that yeah, there's highs and lows, some things just are horrible, and you just have to cope with it. And that's a big word, cope. And I don't like that word. I know what people use it for, and I get that, but I don't like the word cope because I don't want to just survive. Coping feels very much like survival. And I don't want to survive. I want to thrive. And so, what we'd often do is we teach coping mechanisms instead of thriving mechanisms. And what Five Star is doing is teaching kids very intentionally you have both sides of the tracks. Adversity is going to come, it's going to be a constant in your life. There will always be some form of adversity. The question is, will you learn how to go through it the right way? And the right way is to first regulate your nervous system. So it's not bury your head, it's not grind it out, it's not grit it out. It's regulate your nervous system. So when adversity hits, it hits you at your nervous system level. You feel certain emotions. It triggers a chemical reaction. And that chemical soup can bring anxiety and stress, which if you hang on that too long, that stress can become depression if it's held on to. And you can find yourself in a cycle. And so you live in and out of these three different kind of states where we're clear, we're hopeful, we're excited, we're energized, or we live in fight or flight, right? Where we're stressed, we're anxious, we're in protective mode. And then we can live at the very bottom in this place of total shutdown and depression. And so when adversity hits, the first thing is recognizing, okay, this is adversity. This is tough. And it's truly learning how to climb up this ladder, this emotional and mental ladder in our nervous system by really simple, practical things like taking some deep breaths, or by listening to some music, or by calling someone or getting with someone you love and trust just to talk through it. All of those things are proven by research that they bring you back to this healthy place, right? So that's the first step.
I know that's what we're teaching, but when you began this, you were talking about coping mechanisms. So, what are we up against? Because what is the world teaching us of how to cope?
So, coping is this, it's the mindset that you'll never totally heal. You'll always somehow carry this and deal with this. And there's methodologies and research on both sides. I subscribe to the methodology and the belief that you can heal. Like scars don't have pain. There's no pain to a scar. You have the memory, but not the pain. Big difference between living in it and thriving through it. I think a major factor in how we go through adversity and, quite frankly, how we go through life comes down to which side of the railroad tracks we choose to live on. Are we focused indefinitely on only the wrong things in our lives? And that is where we develop some really bad and toxic traits like depression. A big part of depression is ruminating or thinking and processing over and over on what went wrong. It's toxic and it's something that is very fixable. But we don't teach these skills to kids. And that's why we as adults grow up and have all these issues and all these problems. And I've read years ago that the average adult has the emotional quotient. You have intelligence quotient, IQ, how intelligent you are. And then there's an emotional quotient, your emotional intelligence level. And they say that the average adult has an EQ, emotional quotient score, of a 13-year-old. In other words, most adults are perpetually stuck in middle school. Isn't that wild?
It's wild, but it truly shows through when you're dealing with adults in adversity and how some of them react. And you're like, wow, that's very immature.
Anytime I bring this up in conversation with people, people are like, oh, I see that. I see that at the
Hmm.
grocery store. I see that at family Thanksgiving. I see that at the daycare. I see that at school. I see it everywhere. And so here's a question that we don't ask enough. Why do we not teach this? If we as human beings, according to science and research, and we are humans that thrive off relationships, why is this such a low man on the totem pole to be taught to kids? Shouldn't this be the priority? That's what we believe as an organization, that this should be really a priority because If you can't get that right, and if you can't learn how to thrive emotionally and mentally, what kind of life are you truly living and enjoying?
And we were talking about that a little bit earlier too, about this coping mechanism, and I think it falls kind of right into place there because people learn to cope instead of pushing through and to thrive, and they
Hmm.
could kind of accept that level.
I think that, that's what adversity does for sure. It can teach us. There's a term in psychology, they call it learned helplessness, where
Mm.
because of your circumstances that are adverse, whether it's something traumatic that happened to you, or whether it's something that just your own bad decision making did to yourself, brought on to yourself. But those adverse situations, they can be a great teacher to our brain. And they teach your brain that whether you studied really hard and failed the test, or whether you tried everything with this relationship to make it worse or to make it work and it didn't work, all those situations teach you that your effort doesn't matter. And so learned helplessness is your brain saying, we're going to shut this down because your effort doesn't work. Pain has been really hard on our system because your brain, it doesn't really want you to thrive. Your brain is trying to conserve energy. That's what it is. Your brain is truly what it is it's the battery optimizer. It's there to optimize your energy, pure and simple. Your brain's not trying to help you live a 5-star life. And so with every pain, your brain teaches itself that was hurtful. Let's not do that again. And what we then into it is trying doesn't matter. I have no power. And then we stay stuck in a cycle.
So your brain is saying that it's hard. You gave it your effort, but we can't do that again. So we're gonna just shut down. Is this also this how people become victims?
Yeah, it ties into the victim mindset and mentality where you just specifically ruminating on what somebody did to you. Learned helplessness is a little bit, there's a separation, but learned helplessness, it spans where you are a victim of whatever happened to you, if it was a traumatic event that happened to you. But if it's adversity that you just failed, you didn't accomplish your goal in the timetable you wanted to, which, by the way, most people don't. I mean, so failure, what is failure? Failure is, for the most part, just giving up because for the most part, you get another chance. You get another chance to do it again. It might take another year before you get that opportunity to really perform or whatever with that job, with that person, but you get another chance. So failure is only final when we quit. And learn helplessness and victimhood, what it does, it sends this powerful message to the brain that my actions don't matter. I'm powerless. And so what does that lead to? We stop trying. We give up.
So what does your brain do though when you're around somebody that encourages you or says, you know what? Yeah, you missed it this time, but you know what? You could do it again. And they're kind of like pushing you. Does your brain, is there a choice or does it automatically want to like shut that person down?
I think it depends. So if that supportive voice, it can help you. It's a form of co-regulation, right? So those positive voices, it will make you feel better, but it may not change your mindset. It probably
Mm.
won't change your mindset unless that positive voice, it will co-regulate you for a little bit, but when you're off your own, it'll come back down. Unless they tie it to, for example, I lost the game-winning shot. Unless they say, man, that stinks. I'm so sorry. They're comforting me. I'm bringing my emotions into another person. I'm co-regulating. I'm feeling comfort. I'm feeling good. But now let's tie that to, let's get back in the gym and get some shots up. Let's replay that situation. Let's hit that shot and let's work on the game. So when it's tied to actions, your brain does not, it's why we try so hard to motivate our kids when they're down or motivate people that are depressed or whatever. And there's no amount of speeches that work. And so we as parents and teachers and leaders, we feel like, what are we doing that's wrong? How come they're not getting it? Because it's what I'm saying is true and it's good and I believe in them and I'm trying to help them. Until their brain understands that they have power, they won't believe it because the message is I'm a failure or I'm not
Mhm.
safe. So what you got to do, and this is all research based, you have to start with a small win to start to build back the confidence. Your brain responds to reality. And when you see that I can take action and my actions actually matter, that's when we start to come out of that helplessness and we start to take action. it can start really small, and it should start small.
But as a parent, so how do we help our child get there? How do we help them take that small step?
So, I think when kids study really hard, some kids, school comes easy to them. Some kids have to try really hard. So let's say they tried really hard and they still failed. That's really hard because their brain is like, I gave my all and I still failed. I'm an idiot. I don't have what it takes. I'm dumb. And there's no amount of motivation that's going to convince them otherwise. And so, as a parent, that's where you come alongside of them and teach them there is a way. We're going to get through this. Let's talk about what steps we can take. You studied, you tried. Let's get a tutor. Let's try something different. Let's try flashcards. And there's always a way, but you got to find the most irreducible minimum of action steps that you can get a easy win in that area. Or you can choose a different area. That's the beautiful thing about this. Forget this bombing the test. Maybe they're bombing a test, but hey, you know what? We're going to start with areas you can win in. You're not stupid. You're not a failure. But you can get up, make your bed. You can work out. You can excel in another area where you win, you have control. And the research says that bleeds in, it brings confidence to other areas where you realize my actions matter. That's a big part of it. Okay, we got to take one more break. We'll be right back after this. At 5-Star Life, we talk a lot about the right tools. See, the hammer is the courage to be the best person you can be. The chisel is the respect you give and the respect you earn. The level, that's the integrity that keeps you balanced in a world that's always shifting. And the saw represents responsibility. It is what separates you from harmful actions and experience. It's the sacrifice it takes to work hard and be your best. Tools, when they're all used together, things are built. There's progress, but where there are no tools, there can be no progress. We give these important tools to kids every single day, and we couldn't do it without our partners like Global Link Distribution. Global Link supports this mission so that these values, courage, respect, integrity, responsibility, and sacrifice become the tools these amazing young people use to become great. Global Link Distribution is a leader and supplier to the RV, manufactured housing, cabinet shop, cargo, and horse trailer industries, but they're also a proud sponsor of this program to help 5-Star Life students thrive. It is our turn to see to it that our children have the tools that build greatness. Volunteer or donate today at 5starlife.org. Adversity, the most harmful thing about adversity is it takes our power away. It's a heavy blow to us. When we lose, when we fail, when we go through something traumatic, it can take our heart out. And what this lesson does, it teaches really how to put your heart back in and take back control and take responsibility for your life.
Talk a little bit about that, the confidence and how that builds.
Yeah, one of the things that is so simple, but competence creates confidence, right? When you're good at something, you have a competency in something, whether it's a sport, whether it's reading, writing, whether it's communicating, like you have a competence. When you're good at something, it gives you confidence in that area. Now, I have no competence when it comes to mechanical things, so I have no confidence. So I spend a lot of money taking my vehicles to people that are competent because it's dangerous if I don't. So that is true in all of life. And the reverse is true. Where I lack competence, I will lack confidence. And the problem is adversity wipes out our confidence in areas that we're interested in, that matter to us. Relationships, our hobbies, our work, areas we want to grow in, our finances. And so when we lose and we fail, it shatters our confidence. And so the first step is to look at, let's go back to the competence. Because instead of letting it bury us and taking it personal and just like taking over this kind of black cloud of I'm a failure and this is where I'm going to camp out and live, we got to go back to, okay, I lost my confidence because I didn't act in competence in that moment. So talking about it right now, it makes so much sense. And it's like, that is simple. That makes sense. Why don't we do that? Because our emotions get in the way. And our emotions tell us a whole other story.
Yeah, our emotions tell us that we're not competent in anything. And, every person is competent in at least one thing. And most people are in hundreds of things
Yeah.
that they can't sometimes find themselves.
And so to that point, that's exactly what you do. You look at it. So even though your emotions tell you I'm a loser, I'm a failure because you did one thing wrong in one area of your life, I'm a total failure. And that's
Mhm.
not true. And so really regulating your emotions, getting them under control and getting your mind clear again. True, like breathing does that. Going for exercise does that. Music does that. People do that for you. But then you got to get to the point where you're like, I got to get back to competence. And I can either start in the area I failed, or I can go for low hanging fruit that I'm guaranteed to get a win. I can go get a good workout in. I'm guaranteed, like I can go lift weights. I can go for a walk. I can go walk for a mile. I can go do things. And I guess what? I'm going to do it. And I'm going to get done and be like, I did that.
Mhm.
I mastered that. I can go and I can clean. I can clean a toilet. I can vacuum a room. I can mow my lawn. Like I can go mow my lawn and put some perfect lines in my yard. And I'm going to feel like I'm going to start stacking wins. So research says when you start stacking wins, you start to retrain your brain that no, I am not incompetent. I'm a winner. I'm competent. I can win. That will give you confidence to go back to that area you lost and say, okay, let me look at this and reframe this through where is a low hanging fruit step that I can take, an actionable item to rebuild my competence because it's a competency issue that I need to work on. And it's okay. I can be gracious, but I'm going to do this. And I'm going to go where I want to go.
Why do we feel like, though, we go after like these big wins and we don't take into consideration that a win's a win?
Yeah, I think that we underestimate the power of small wins. And I think we look at and we glorify the big wins of whether it's Elon Musk, whether it's some person in Hollywood, whether it's a pro athlete or somebody in business. All we see, this is the problem. All we see is their massive win. What we don't see is all the micro wins that they've stacked. And the reality is, they're stacking those wins every day. All of those people, it's really, and we glaze over this because all of these people say this all the time. They say this all the time, but we don't listen because that's too simple. They give us simple remedies. No, it's just my daily habits. Here's what I do every day. How'd you hear? Well, I did this. Well, that sounds simple. It is simple, but nobody does it because we like the big wins.
Gosh, I was just thinking, even a to-do list is a great win as you mark things off. I mean, those are each small wins. I mean, what a great tool to for anybody, adult, a child. So yeah, it's so interesting that we don't look at it that way.
Yeah. So, in dealing with your kids, when they fail, it's like riding a bike or tying your shoes. What do? You say, get back on the bike, right? Get back up to the plate, get back out on the court. And you try to get them to take a simple win, right? That's what we do. Take steps. And that right there is how Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. He did not quit. He persisted. Adversity will either bury you or build you. And it really comes down to your mindset of how you're going to approach it. And if you can go back and say, okay, yep, that failed, but I am going to go back to getting some small wins, the fundamentals. In sports, I'm an athlete. So what coaches always talk about is what? The fundamentals. That's what wins championships. That's what creates greatness is the fundamentals. And whatever the adversity is, we have to get back to some fundamentals to get some wins. Now, if it's trauma and there's abuse or whatever, that's a little bit different. But there's still similarities because whether it's not being able to trust again, whether it's feeling like you're not safe in any environment, well, guess what you can do? You can start some small wins by, I'm going to focus on where am I safe, right? And what are the things that bring safety? What makes me feel safe? And what things can I control that help me be safe so that I can start to rebuild confidence in the fact that I'm safe? If you've enjoyed this show, would you do us a favor? Would you hit the like button and subscribe to this show so that you get it every time? You've probably heard me, Mia, for 20 years talk about I'm not a runner.
Yeah.
I don't like to run. I'm not a runner. Don't like to run. I don't see the point in running. And I would just mock runners. My whole life I've mocked runners. I just make fun of runners. And I'm sorry to all, actually I'm not sorry to all runners because you're an easy target. When you're running, you look miserable. Your face is all distraught. You look miserable. It looks like you're being tortured. It's almost like somebody's behind you whipping you. That's what your face looks like. And so I would just mock runners. And not personal. It's just, I'm like, I don't like that. Well, guess what happened? I decided that I'm going to become a runner. And guess what? My brain, my body didn't like it at first, but there are so many health benefits, cardiovascular, heart rate, just that concussion to your body, to your muscles, to your bones. Then I'm like, you know what? I got to grow. It's time for me to grow and add running to my workout. And my body and my mind both fought me. But now I haven't been doing this long, just since the beginning of the year. I'm now a runner and I'm actually liking it. It's good because I'm teaching my brain what level of thriving I want. And I want to keep getting healthier. So it's kind of a prime example of like, it stinks. It's horrible for a little while.
But you did it. You challenged your brain. I would love to see a video of you running
Now
because
you can now look at me and mock me. Look at Seth. He looks miserable.
because I've heard all the mocking of all the runners that you have done over the years. So now it's our turn.
Oh my gosh. I'm so critical. Like I just judge runners and I go by. I'm like, look at them. They look how miserable they are. I judge their form. Again, just moment of truth, honesty. That's what it was. Kind of fun. It was like a sport for me. So now I am that
Now
person.
you're in the sport.
Somebody else is doing it to me. It's awesome. And I don't care. And that's what I've learned. I'm like, you know what? Those people, they don't care that I was mocking them because they're getting healthy. They could care less. The whole point there was how our brain needs to be taught, needs to be trained. And so when you go through adversity, you either what? You either cave to, oh my gosh, I'm 3/4 of a mile in and I'm toast. I can't do that. My body's saying, why are you doing this? We don't do this. What's going on? Either I cave into that and I say, this is too hard, or I say, you know what, brain, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put one foot in front of the other. Small actions. And you know what I had to do? First couple runs, I would just slow down. I'm not quitting. I'm going to slow down because I can go slow. I can jog. I'm in good enough shape that I can jog for a long time. So I'm like, I'm just going to slow down. I'm going to keep taking steps. I'm not going as fast as I want to go. I'm going slow as heck. There's 75-year-old dudes passing me, and it's okay because I am teaching my brain that I can do this. And I think it's that same approach when anything we're dealing with, if we would just understand that we got to teach our brain something here and know we're not failures, we're not losers, we're not giving in, that's how we get our power back.
And to teach your kids that. You got to find out, I guess, too, is like, because you personally can push yourself, you have discipline, but, when your kids want to try something new, that ability to push them, because they can do it.
Yeah.
But you kind of face that, there's that fine line of they're either going to receive it and keep pushing or not, I guess.
I think one of the things I mentioned before is normalizing failure. And I want to define what I mean by that. I'm not saying to accept failure. I'm saying to normalize failure. Normalizing failure is when a kid tries something new and they fail, we as parents should expect that they're new to something. I did not tie my shoes on the first try. I didn't get on a bike and ride it the first try. I did what? In basketball. I played college basketball. I can play some basketball. When I first started playing, I didn't make my first shot. I couldn't dribble. Like I failed. I failed. So what we need to do as parents is normalize failure. Not accept it, but normalize it. You're going to fail. Like, I don't like this. I'm bad at this, because kids are embarrassed. They feel stupid because they're not as good as somebody else at something, whether it's math or reading or a sport or whatever. They didn't do it right. And as parents, what can happen is we can get our own stuff in the way where we're a little embarrassed. Maybe not with the failure, but maybe we're a little concerned. We're a little afraid. Oh my gosh, they failed. They're bad at this. When it's something bigger. Instead, or we're embarrassed by their response to it, their lack of resilience, their melting down. And as parents, if we can go in and normalize, I failed. Like I know it's okay. Yeah, you failed, but you get another chance. Get back out there. You got this. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just letting them know you're accepted, you're loved. It's not connected to your identity. It's not who you are. But we're going to try again. It's Nick Vujicic, the guy with no limbs. His parents told him, you're going to try again. And they just forced him to try. And guess what? He developed competency. He gained skills because of that. And I think that's what we as parents can do, is supporting them by believing in them and reminding them that, I know, I did the same thing as a kid. I talked about my son who got in a little accident. First thing I told him was like, I know, I did the same thing. I've done that. I'm sorry. It doesn't feel good. And I had to help him. He didn't want to drive. Like, I don't want to drive. Oh, you're going to drive. You're a great driver. And it was like small wins. Okay. This has been a fun show. We are out of time.
It was fun.
Go to 5starlife.org.